Eli was nervous. It was his first day at the Interstellar Embassy on Xerion, a planet where humans were trying to build friendly relations with alien species. He straightened his tie for the third time, although he knew Xerionians probably did not wear ties. The shiny metal floor reflected his anxious face as he stepped into the grand hall filled with towering alien officials. The most intimidating figure was General Vera, the Xerionian general assigned to oversee diplomatic relations with humans. She was tall, with silver-blue skin that shimmered under the hall lights, and her eyes were deep violet, giving her an intense and commanding presence. Eli gulped. He had never been so close to someone who looked so powerful. The meeting began with formal greetings, each human diplomat bowing politely. Eli stumbled a little over his words when introducing himself, earning a faint click from Vera's eyes. Her attention made him sweat, but he tried to remain professional. Then came the moment that changed everything. The ambassador asked Eli to comment on the general's uniform, a ceremonial outfit filled with medals and insignias. Eli panicked. He wanted to say something respectful, intelligent, and diplomatic. This uniform is cute, he blurted out. The room went silent. Eli froze, realizing immediately that he might have said the wrong thing. Cute, he repeated, his voice squeaking. I mean, impressive, very impressive. But it was too late. General Vera had stopped moving, her eyes fixed on him, unmoving yet somehow curious. Eli felt as if every part of him was being examined. He swallowed hard, unsure whether she was offended or intrigued. His human colleagues tried to hide their laughter, but a few snickered behind their hands. The Xerionian officials whispered among themselves in their melodic language. Eli wished he could disappear into the floor. The meeting continued, but Eli could not stop noticing Vera's eyes. Every time he glanced at her, she was staring right back. Not with anger, not with disdain, there was something else. Something he could not understand. After the meeting, Eli wandered down the embassy corridor, his hands shaking slightly. He tried to calm himself. It was just one word, he thought. Just one stupid word. Yet somehow he knew it was more than that. Vera appeared at the end of the hall, her tall figure moving gracefully. Eli froze. She walked slowly toward him and his heart pounded. He expected a reprimand, maybe even a scolding, but instead she stopped a few feet away, tilted her head and studied him. You said, cute, she said in her deep, calm voice. The words sounded unusual in English, but her tone did not seem angry. Explain, Eli swallowed. I meant it as a compliment. Your uniform is impressive. Very impressive, not cute. His voice wavered, but he tried to stand tall. Vera's eyes narrowed slightly, then softened. A small gesture, almost like a smile, flickered across her face. She said nothing more and turned to leave, but Eli noticed that her gaze lingered on him for just a moment longer than usual. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Eli tried to focus on his duties, helping other diplomats, taking notes, and attending briefings. But no matter what he did, he could feel Vera's presence, her eyes watching him from across the hall. Every time he thought he was alone, she appeared in his peripheral vision. At lunch, Eli joined a group of human colleagues. So, how's your first day with the alien general? One of them teased, smirking. Eli groaned. I think I offended her. I called her uniform cute. I am never speaking again. Another colleague laughed. Cute? That's bold. Honestly, I think she might like you. Eli choked on his water. Like me, she's a general. She's terrifying. But deep down, a small spark of curiosity grew in him. Why did she stare? Was it annoyance? Or something else? He could not tell. All he knew was that humans had to survive in alien worlds not just with technology or strategy, but sometimes with charm and quick thinking. Later, Eli was assigned to assist with security protocols in the embassy's control room. As he adjusted a console, he noticed Vera entering silently, as if she had always been there. She observed him without a word, leaning slightly forward, her hands folded behind her back. Eli cleared his throat. Do you need something, General? Vera shook her head. I am watching, she said simply. Observe carefully. Humans are unpredictable. Her words were simple, but the tone carried weight. Unpredictable. Eli thought about it. Maybe that was why she stared. Because humans were different, clever, and not bound by the same rigid rules as aliens. Maybe there was something about humans that even a general could not ignore. By the time Eli left for the day, he realized one thing. He had survived his first accidental flirt, and in doing so, he had caught the attention of the most powerful alien in the embassy. He laughed quietly to himself nervously. "Great," he muttered. "Now she keeps staring at me. How do humans survive in space diplomacy? Without fainting?" And somewhere in the distance, General Vera's eyes watched him again, calm, curious, and very alert. The next morning, Eli arrived at the embassy feeling more nervous than ever. The previous day's cute incident had not left his mind. Everywhere he looked, he imagined General Vera's sharp violet eyes following him, analyzing his every move. As he walked down the polished corridors, he quickly noticed she was already there. Standing by a large holographic display, Vera's gaze fixed on him, calm and unwavering. Eli's heart skipped a beat. "Good morning," he mumbled, attempting a professional smile. Vera inclined her head slightly, the equivalent of a nod. Then she said in a measured voice, "You are predictable today." Eli blinked. "Predictable how?" "You follow the human pattern," she replied, her eyes still on him. "You worry, you hurry, you overthink, curious." Eli swallowed. "Overthink?" "Yes, worry. Definitely. Curious. Maybe too." He wanted to laugh at her observation, but instead he tried to focus on his work. The embassy was busy with a new diplomatic mission. Human and Zirionian teams were paired together to review planetary trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Eli was assigned to assist with a holographic interface, translating alien data into human-readable reports. Throughout the morning, he could not escape Vera's gaze. She appeared in the briefing room, leaning slightly against a railing as she observed him from above. At first, Eli thought she was judging him, but as he completed the tasks with quick thinking, correcting errors no one else noticed, he saw a small flicker of interest in her expression. "Humans think differently," she remarked quietly to an aide. "Unexpected solutions, efficient." Eli overheard her words and felt a mix of pride and disbelief. "She's praising me? Me?" He tried to act calm, but his fingers tapped nervously on the console. During lunch, the human staff gathered in the dining hall. Eli sat quietly, picking at his food, trying to avoid thinking about Vera. But as he glanced up, he noticed her standing near the large viewing window, watching him again. This time her posture was relaxed yet focused, like a predator curious about its prey, but not dangerous. "Stop looking," Eli whispered under his breath. He laughed nervously when one of his colleagues, Mara, nudged him. "Looks like you have a fan," she teased, pointing at Vera. "Fan?" Eli scoffed. "She's a general. She's terrifying. And she's..." "Staring at me." Mara shrugged. "Maybe she likes humans. You know, the unpredictable, clever type. You've survived one accidental flirt already." Eli groaned. "I didn't flirt. I made a mistake." The afternoon brought a surprise. The embassy's security team reported a small technical issue. One of the Zirionian security drones had malfunctioned, wandering into a restricted area. Human and alien engineers gathered, but the drone's AI seemed to be reacting too quickly for most of them to safely control. Eli stepped forward. "Maybe we can redirect its sensors by simulating multiple movement patterns. It's a human trick, unorthodox, but it works." The engineers exchanged doubtful looks. But Vera didn't say a word. She simply observed. Eli worked quickly, improvising with a combination of human logic and intuition. The drone paused, then followed the path he designed, returning safely to its docking station. The room erupted in quiet applause. Vera finally spoke, her voice calm but carrying authority. "Human, effective." Eli blinked. "Thank you, General." Her eyes held his for a moment longer than usual. Then she nodded and turned to leave. But as she passed him, she said softly, almost as if testing him, "Your methods are unusual, but they work. Continue." Eli felt a strange warmth. Respect from Vera was rare, and yet the way she looked at him, as if she were observing something precious or fascinating, made his heart race. He realized humans might survive in alien spaces not only through rules and technology, but by thinking differently, by being clever and adaptive. By the end of the day, Eli was exhausted but strangely exhilarated. He had navigated the embassy, assisted with complex tasks, and even handled a rogue drone, all while under the watchful eyes of a general who had initially seemed intimidating. As he prepared to leave, he noticed Vera again. She was standing near the exit watching him with a tilt of her head that made her expression seem almost thoughtful. Eli laughed softly, shaking his head. Why do I feel like she's always staring at me? Is this how humans train under pressure? Or under a general? She did not answer. She simply watched, silent and calm. Eli stepped out into the night air of Zirion, the city lights reflecting off its glass towers. He thought about humans, about their ability to adapt, to surprise, and to survive even in situations that seemed impossible. Maybe, he whispered to himself, being human isn't just about technology or rules. It's about thinking, feeling, and yes, surviving awkward moments, even if that means calling a general cute. And somewhere in the embassy, Vera continued to watch, calm, curious, and quietly impressed. The next few days passed in a strange rhythm. Eli woke up every morning knowing that somewhere in the embassy, General Vera's violet eyes would be on him. And every day she proved him right. She didn't just stare now, she observed. During morning briefings, she stood silently near the back of the room, her tall figure like a statue of silver-blue metal. During afternoon tasks, she appeared in the control room, watching him type and solve problems. Even in the cafeteria, she always chose a seat where she could see him. At first, it made Eli anxious. But slowly he began to notice something different in her stare. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't angry. It was curious. One morning, the human ambassador called Eli to his office. You've been assigned to assist General Vera directly today, the ambassador said. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Directly, as in, with her? Yes, the ambassador smiled. She requested you. Apparently, she thinks you are good at human problem solving. Congratulations. Eli walked into the simulation hall where holographic training scenarios were set up for joint exercises. Vera was already there, her posture perfect as always. You came, she said simply. I was told to, Eli replied, trying not to sound nervous. Vera gestured toward the training interface. We are testing human strategy today. You will lead this scenario. Eli stared at the display. The scenario was a simulation of an embassy under attack by malfunctioning drones. The goal was to neutralize them without harming civilians. Eli took a deep breath and got to work. Unlike the Zirionian officers who usually followed a strict set of steps, Eli improvised. He rerouted power, used harmless distractions, and even created a decoy signal to confuse the drones. When the simulation ended, the result was better than any previous record. No civilians were hurt and all drones were safely shut down. Vera's eyes shone faintly. Efficient. Unexpected, she said. Eli couldn't help but smile. Humans are good at thinking outside the box. Outside the box, Vera repeated slowly as if tasting the phrase. Strange expression. But I understand. For the first time, Eli saw something that looked almost like a smile on her face. It was small, barely there, but it made him relax. Later that day, Vera invited him to the cultural wing of the embassy, where Zirionian artifacts and history were displayed. The room was quiet, filled with strange glowing objects and tall glass cases. You should understand who we are, Vera said. Diplomacy is not only words, it is respect. Eli nodded, walking slowly through the displays. He asked questions about Zirionian traditions, battles, and art. Vera answered patiently, her voice calm. When they reached a display of Zirionian war banners, Eli tilted his head. They're beautiful, very different from human flags. Ours are simple, just colors and symbols. Yours look like paintings. Vera studied him for a moment. You notice details, she said softly. Many do not. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. A real one this time. The embassy lights flashed red. Security breach in the South Hall, a voice called over the intercom. Vera turned instantly, her calm expression replaced with sharp focus. Stay here, she ordered, but Eli stepped forward. I can help. Maybe it's like the drone problem the other day. If it's a system error, I can fix it faster. Vera hesitated, then gave a short nod. Follow me. They ran down the corridor together. The breach turned out to be another malfunctioning security drone, this one scanning randomly and locking doors at random. While Vera secured the area, Eli crouched by a control panel typing quickly. If I can trick the drone into thinking there's a false alert on the other side of the building, it will leave this area. Vera watched as Eli worked, his hands moving fast, his face focused. Within minutes, the drone turned and flew away toward the false signal, leaving the hall safe. The alarm stopped. The red lights faded. Eli exhaled in relief. There. Crisis solved. Vera approached him, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. You acted quickly, bravely. Humans are not as fragile as I thought. Eli grinned nervously. We do our best. For the first time, Vera let out a sound that was almost a laugh, a short, soft sound that made Eli blink. You are strange, Eli, she said, using his name for the first time. But useful, perhaps even interesting. Eli felt a warmth spread through him. It wasn't just respect anymore. It felt like the beginning of trust. As they walked back to the main hall, Eli realized that the general who once terrified him was no longer just a distant figure of authority. She was someone he could talk to, someone who respected him, maybe even someone who liked him in her own alien way. And when she looked at him now, her stare didn't make him nervous. It made him curious, too. The embassy buzzed with excitement that evening. For the first time since humans had arrived on Zirion, a joint cultural gala was being held. Delegates from several alien worlds had come, and humans were expected to present their music, art, and traditions. Eli had not been planning to attend, but the ambassador personally asked him to represent the human side during the evening. You seem to have made an impression on General Vera, the ambassador said with a knowing smile. It would be good for her to see more of what humanity has to offer, beyond just our problem-solving. Eli reluctantly agreed, though he felt nervous. Presenting human culture to aliens was not something he had ever trained for. The gala was held on the embassy terrace, overlooking the city of Zirion. The twin moons glowed softly in the sky, and floating lights drifted overhead, giving the entire scene a dreamlike beauty. Tables were arranged with food from different worlds, strange glowing fruits, steaming alien drinks in a small corner with simple human dishes like bread, cheese, and tea. Eli arrived in a clean, formal uniform, still adjusting his collar when he saw Vera. She stood near the entrance, her ceremonial armor polished and shining. She noticed him immediately and walked over. You came, she said, her tone calm but softer than usual. Yes, Eli replied, forcing a smile. I was invited. Vera's head tilted slightly. Good. Tonight we learn from each other. The event began with Zirionian music, deep, resonant tones that seemed to vibrate through the air. Eli stood quietly, amazed by the sound. Then came a short dance performed by Zirionian officers, precise and full of discipline. When it was the humans' turn, Eli was pushed forward by his colleagues. Go on, one whispered. Show them something simple. Something human. Eli cleared his throat. Humans. Tell stories, he said, glancing at the alien audience. Stories about courage, about mistakes, about hope. We use them to teach each other, to make each other laugh, and sometimes to remind ourselves not to give up. He began telling a short human folktale about a clever farmer who outsmarted a dangerous beast using nothing but quick thinking and teamwork. At first, the aliens listened quietly. Then, to his surprise, some of them began to lean closer, their glowing eyes curious. When Eli reached the part where the farmer tricked the beast, several aliens clicked their jaws softly, their version of laughter. When he finished, there was a moment of silence, then applause. Humans. Tell good stories, one Zirionian said. Eli blushed. Thank you. Vera was watching him again, but this time her stare was different. There was a faint glow in her eyes that almost looked warm. Later, as the gala continued, Eli found himself standing next to her at the terrace railing. The city stretched out below them, lights twinkling like stars. You told a good story, Vera said. Thanks, Eli replied. It's just something humans do. We like sharing ideas through stories. It's how we connect. Vera looked out at the city. Your kind connects quickly. You adapt. When we first met humans, we thought you were fragile. But you are more. Eli felt his heart skip a beat. Coming from her, that was high praise. I think humans survive because we have to, Eli said quietly. We're not the strongest or the fastest, but we're stubborn. We don't stop trying. Vera turned to face him. That is why you interest me. You are small, yet you face danger. You make mistakes, yet you keep moving. Eli laughed softly. Sometimes we trip over our own words, too. like calling a general's uniform cute. Vera's lips curved slightly, just a small motion, but it made Eli blink. Was that a smile? Yes, she said, her voice calm but with a hint of amusement. I remember. For a moment they stood in silence, the twin moons reflecting in her eyes. Then suddenly one of the alien delegates approached, asking Vera for advice on the next day's negotiations. To Eli's surprise, Vera glanced at him first. What do you think? She asked him. Eli blinked. Me? Yes. Your perspective, Vera said simply. He hesitated, then offered a simple suggestion about a fair trade arrangement. To his shock, several aliens nodded in agreement. Human suggestion is acceptable, one of them said. Vera nodded once, satisfied. Then it will be done. Eli stood there, stunned. She had trusted him, publicly. As the gala ended, the human delegation gathered their things. Eli felt lighter somehow, as though the nervous weight he had been carrying for days had finally eased. Vera approached him before he left. Tonight you showed us what it means to be human, she said. Stories, ideas, courage. I will remember this, Eli smiled, and I'll try not to accidentally insult any more generals. This time Vera let out a quiet sound that was definitely a laugh. Do not change too much, Eli, she said softly. Your unpredictability is valuable. And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving Eli standing on the terrace under the glowing moons, realizing that something had changed between them. She no longer just stared at him, she respected him. The days following the gala felt different for Eli. The embassy no longer felt like an intimidating maze of alien technology. It felt alive, warm even. Everywhere he went, Zirionians greeted him with polite nods, and some even clicked their jaws softly, an alien gesture of approval. But most importantly, General Vera's stare had changed. She still watched him, but now there was something calm and steady in her gaze, something that felt less like an inspection and more like interest. One evening, Eli was asked to meet Vera on the observation deck of the embassy. The deck was high above the city, with a clear dome giving a view of the night sky. The twin moons were bright tonight, and beyond them, thousands of stars glowed. Eli arrived a few minutes early, feeling nervous. When Vera stepped onto the deck, her tall figure silhouetted against the moons, he straightened instinctively. You called for me, General? He asked. Yes, Vera said, her voice calm as ever. You have been assisting the embassy for several weeks now. I wanted to speak with you. Without meetings, without others listening. Eli nodded. Of course. For a long moment they stood in silence, looking out at the stars. Then Vera spoke. When humans first came here, we thought you were small, fragile, not a threat, not a problem. But I have learned something different. You are not the strongest species, but you are persistent, clever. Eli smiled faintly. That's what we do best. Keep trying until something works. Yes, Vera said slowly. And you? You are the first human who dared to speak to me in a way no one else has. Even your mistake, the word you used, was not an insult. It was honest. Eli felt his face warm. You mean when I called your uniform cute? Vera's lips curved ever so slightly. Yes, cute. She said the word carefully, as if it were a rare artifact she was examining. I really didn't mean to say it, Eli admitted, scratching the back of his neck. I was nervous. I thought I had ruined everything. You did not ruin anything, Vera said. You made me curious, and then you showed me what it means to be human. Your quick thinking, your humor, your ability to face danger even when you are afraid. Eli felt a strange pride rise in him. For the first time since he arrived, he realized that he wasn't just surviving here. He was helping build something important. We're not perfect, he said softly. Humans make mistakes. We argue, we fail, we get scared. But we keep going. Maybe that's what makes us human. Vera turned to face him fully now, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the soft light. And that is why I will remember you, Eli. Because you remind me that even small species can teach great lessons. For a moment, Eli couldn't find words. Instead, he looked up at the stars. You know, he said finally, back on Earth we always believed that if we met aliens we'd have to prove ourselves, that we'd have to fight to be respected. You did not fight, Vera said simply. You earned respect another way. They stood quietly, side by side, as the stars glimmered above. The embassy lights reflected in the dome, making it feel as though the entire galaxy was inside the room with them. After a while, Eli chuckled softly. "So, am I still under observation, General?" Vera tilted her head slightly, her version of amusement. "Always, but not because I suspect you. Because you are. Interesting to watch." Eli laughed, shaking his head. "That sounds less scary than before?" Vera stepped closer, her presence calm but powerful. "Humans are full of surprises. I wish to see more of them. Perhaps one day more of your kind will come here. I will be ready." Eli nodded. "And we'll be ready too." As he turned to leave, Vera spoke one more time. "Eli," he looked back. "You are cute," she said, the alien word shaped carefully by her tongue. Eli blinked, then broke into a grin. "Thanks, General. I'll take that as a compliment this time." For the first time, Vera gave him a full, clear smile, strange and alien, yet warm enough to make Eli's chest feel lighter. When he left the deck that night, Eli felt different. The fear and nervousness that had followed him since his first day were gone. Instead, there was a quiet confidence. Humans had come to Zirian as strangers. They were still learning, still adapting, but they had made a place for themselves here. Not through force, but through ingenuity, courage, and maybe even a little accidental charm. As Eli stepped into the quiet corridor, he glanced back at the observation deck. Vera still stood there looking at the stars, and though she was far away now, Eli knew she was still watching him, and this time he didn't mind at all.